In the dark depths of the universe, the planet Thor was home to the oldest and wisest beings in the galaxy. This planet, with its colossal crystal structures that had stood unchanged for hundreds of thousands of years and skies adorned with green and purple clouds, created an air of mystery. The inhabitants of Thor, the Kivtar, had lived far longer than any other species in the galaxy, watching the flow of the universe while relying on their own immortality. For them, patience in the face of time was the greatest strength. Xerith, the Kivtar leader, dressed in a golden cloak, was the embodiment of this philosophy. In recent years, news from the far reaches of the galaxy had started to unsettle the Kivtar Council. The reports often mentioned a particular species, humans. Known for their short lifespans and having existed for only a few centuries, this species had swiftly established colonies near the galaxy's core, developed trade routes, and won battles. However, these accomplishments were seen by the Kivtar as mere fleeting glimmers. In the council chamber, hundreds of Kivtar were illuminated by the faint purple light emanating from enormous crystals hanging above them. All eyes were fixed on Xerith, standing at the podium. His calm and confident posture reaffirmed the Kivtar's belief in their immortality. Xerith narrowed his eyes as he addressed the assembly. Humans. They live such short lives that the birth and death of a star happens simultaneously for them. Their lifespan isn't even as long as a Kivtar's meditation session. Short-lived beings can never truly comprehend the power of the galaxy. These words echoed through the council, met with murmurs of approval from the Kivtar. But Xerith's eyes held a hint of concern. Because the humans weren't just surviving, they were rapidly becoming one of the most advanced technological and military powers in the galaxy. Suddenly, the heavy doors of the council chamber opened. The entrance of the human delegation created a hushed tension among the Kivtar. Human commander Alden strode confidently toward the podium, his head held high and his steps calm. His face bore the marks of fatigue from many battles, but the glint in his eyes was a testament to his resolve and determination. His attire was simple yet functional, a dark gray uniform designed for space combat, standing in stark contrast to the ornate cloaks of the Kivtar. Xerith looked at Alden with a cold smile. Humans. How far can you go with such short lifespans? He asked, his voice laced with faint disdain. We Kivtar understand the true value of time. You, on the other hand, are racing toward extinction. Time is your enemy. Alden's eyes remained steadfast. From your perspective, time may be a friend to wait patiently for. But for humans, time is a resource we must act on every moment. Every second is precious. While you immortals have remained stagnant, we've accomplished what seemed impossible in a short time. For a moment, Xerith's lips twitched, but he quickly regained his composure. Success only matters if it is lasting, Alden. A long life shows the true strength of a species. At this rate, humans are doomed to destroy themselves. Alden continued calmly, you've become complacent, relying on your immortality. We, on the other hand, fought, advanced, and succeeded to make our limited lifespans meaningful. True strength isn't in the length of your life, but in how quickly you adapt and take action. That's the difference in our path. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the chamber shifted. Xerith began to realize that humans were not only prepared for war but also possessed an extraordinary resilience. Alden was more than just a commander. He represented the boundless determination of humanity. This confrontation felt like the beginning of a conflict that would reshape the balance of the galaxy. Xerith lowered his gaze. We shall see, he said quietly. We shall see how far you can go. These words were a forewarning of the great war that was brewing between humanity and the Kivtar. A battle between mortals and immortals that would determine the fate of the galaxy was about to begin. The Arcorian Empire had been one of the greatest threats to the galaxy for many years. With their unique biotechnological weapons and massive space fleets, they had never hidden their desire to conquer the galaxy. The rise of humans in the galactic arena had become a serious threat in the eyes of the Arcorians. Emperor Xerith of the Arcorians had always belittled the laziness and inaction of the Kivtar, but the rapid rise of humanity disturbed him. Despite their short lifespans, humans were quickly settling in the galaxy's most strategic locations, forming new alliances, and making scientific breakthroughs to develop their technology further. Xerith, eager to eliminate this threat, launched a large-scale assault on human colonies. Interplanetary communication systems were cut off, colonies were besieged, and Arcorian warships began to dismantle humanity's strongest defenses. Within a few weeks, several human colonies had fallen under Arcorian occupation. This assault was not only a display of physical power but also psychological warfare. The Arcorians aimed to wear down and terrify the humans. Commander Alden quickly devised a defense plan in response to these attacks. He took command of one of humanity's most powerful warships, the Unity. Addressing the crew with calm determination, Alden spoke, "This war is not just about our survival. It will determine humanity's place in the galaxy. Losing is not an option." The crew trusted their commander, knowing that victory was possible under his leadership. But the enemy they faced was no easy foe. Arcorian warships were renowned for their powerful shield systems and biotechnological weapons. Moreover, the Arcorians were attempting to gradually crush the humans through a siege strategy. Alden needed to come up with a plan to counter this. On the night of the assault, the human fleet engaged the Arcorian armada. The massive warships drifting in the deep darkness of space rapidly closed the distance between them. The Unity, commanded by Alden, was at the forefront of the human fleet. The ship's colossal engines granted it incredible speed, and the crew reported that the weapon systems were ready. "Only with intelligence and courage can we overcome the obstacles ahead," Alden whispered, eyes fixed on the radar screens. Suddenly, the battle erupted. Arcorian ships unleashed massive green energy bursts toward the human vessels. Explosions echoed through the vacuum of space, signaling how quickly the distance between the two sides had closed. Human ships dodged enemy fire, performing evasive maneuvers while firing back with plasma cannons. The void of space was suddenly illuminated by the blasts. The Unity was closest to the Arcorian ships. A massive Arcorian cruiser targeted the Unity, initiating a high-energy cannon shot. Alden ordered the shields to maximum capacity in the blink of an eye. The ship's energy shield barely repelled the Arcorian attack, but the impact shook the ship, causing the crew to lose their balance. The lights on the ship flickered momentarily. "Stabilize the power source," Alden shouted. Engineers worked frantically to restore the energy. For a moment, silence fell. Then the Unity's weapon systems activated. The ship's heavy plasma cannons were aimed at the Arcorian cruiser. When Alden gave the order to fire, a massive burst of energy echoed through the depths of space. The plasma shots tore through the enemy cruiser's armor. The resulting explosion caused the Arcorian ship to break apart, its fragments scattered into the void. But this victory came at a cost. The Unity's shields were weakened, and its energy reserves were critically low. Though the crew's morale was high, they knew they couldn't hold out much longer. Alden remained calm, formulating a new plan. "We can't sustain this fight for long," Alden said, his eyes fixed on the star map. "The Arcorian flagship remains stationary. If we neutralize their leader, the enemy's coordination will collapse, forcing them to retreat." For a moment, the crew silently pondered Alden's plan. The Arcorian flagship had the most advanced shields and weapons, but Alden had something more daring in mind. He proposed leading a small strike team, using his own ship to infiltrate the flagship directly. This would be an unexpected move for the Arcorians. The plan was immediately put into action. The Unity sped toward the enemy lines. Alden's ship, along with a few fast attack ships, dove into the massive Arcorian fleet. The Arcorians were caught off guard by this bold strike. Alden and his special forces guided their ships beneath the Arcorian flagship. These ships, maneuvering through the vast interstellar void, appeared to be on a hopeless mission. The infiltration team slipped under the Arcorian flagship's lower hull and entered the ship to disable its defense systems. As they moved silently through the metallic, cold corridors of the ship, they encountered Arcorian soldiers. With their towering figures and biotechnological armor, the Arcorians were a deadly threat to the humans. But Alden and his team had planned every move carefully. Suddenly, a fierce battle erupted in the narrow corridors. Arcorian soldiers fired plasma rounds from their biomechanical weapons while Alden's team, protected by shields, returned fire. The dark passageways were illuminated by the light of the explosions. Alden made quick tactical changes, distracting the enemy and pushing his team forward. Finally, they reached the ship's control room. Gazing at Arcorian Emperor Xerith seated in his throne-like chair, Alden rested his hand on his plasma weapon. The Arcorian Emperor's eyes revealed that he recognized Alden's determination, but he still hadn't stopped underestimating him. Xerith sneered. You humans are only prolonging the inevitable. You're not even a threat to this galaxy. Alden smiled. You, like the Xerith, underestimate us. But humanity will never give up in this galaxy. At that moment, Alden signaled his team to attack the flagship's main power source. When it exploded, the entire ship shook. The Arcorian flagship, drained of its energy, became vulnerable. Alden and his team quickly retreated as the Arcorian fleet descended into chaos. Without their leader, the Arcorians rapidly began to retreat. This was a victory for humanity, but the cost had been high. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of burned ships. Once again, humanity had proven themselves a powerful force in the galaxy, but everyone knew the war was far from over. After the retreat of the Arcorian fleet, a deep silence settled across the galaxy. Humanity, following their victory, had earned even greater respect among the galactic communities. While this triumph proved their strength, the fate of humanity remained uncertain. They knew that despite winning a battle, the Xerith had yet to make their move. The Xerith, confident in their immortality, waited patiently, still viewing humans as nothing more than a fleeting success. On the planet Thor, Xerith leader Xerith reviewed reports coming from all corners of the galaxy. Despite their short lives, humans had rapidly transformed the galaxy and neutralized the Arcorian threat. This was a feat beyond Xerith's expectations. Humanity had proven themselves to be a species not to be underestimated. But with the wisdom granted by long life, Xerith still believed that the final outcome required patience. The council chamber was filled with a cold and quiet atmosphere. None of the Xerith had faced such a situation throughout their long lives. Xerith realized that if humans continued to rise at this pace, they could upset the balance of the galaxy. It was time to make a decision. We can no longer just watch them, Xerith said, standing before the council. Their short lives are threatening our power. Waiting any longer would show weakness. Even the wisest of the Xerith were unprepared for this. Patience was the cornerstone of Xerith culture. However, Xerith argued that it was time to act. Humanity had to be stopped before they dragged the galaxy into chaos. It's time we show them the true power of immortality, Xerith declared. Following these words, the enormous Xerith warships sprang into action. These vessels, unused for centuries but equipped with highly advanced technology, set course for the human colonies. The Xerith had been preparing for this possibility since the beginning of the conflict. The era of waiting was over. Once again, alarms blared throughout human colonies. This time, the enemy they faced was far stronger and older than the Arcorians. The human fleet quickly reorganized. Commander Alden began gathering warships from across the galaxy, preparing to defend humanity. But this time, the enemy was more dangerous than anything humanity had ever faced in its history. The war began as the Xerith ships approached the human colonies. These colossal vessels, silently gliding through space, appeared almost like shadows as they closed in. Human warships quickly organized, advancing towards the Xerith fleet. The first clash of the war occurred between the Unity and a Xerith cruiser. The enormous Xerith ships were equipped with plasma weapons. Energy shields that enveloped the ships easily deflected human attacks. Unity had to adopt a different strategy to breach the enemy's defenses. Commander Alden, with a sudden maneuver, steered his ship beneath the enemy cruiser. The Xerith were caught off guard by this daring move. Now! Alden shouted. Unity's engineers activated the heavy plasma cannons at the front of the ship. Temporarily overloading the energy reserves, they created a massive plasma burst. This sudden and intense attack penetrated the Xerith cruiser's shields and tore through its hull. A deafening explosion echoed through the darkness of space as a massive hole opened in the Xerith ship. The enemy vessel began spinning uncontrollably and, within minutes, was completely destroyed. Though this victory boosted the morale of the human fleet, the Xerith had not yet fully unleashed their power. The massive Xerith flagship moved slowly across the battlefield. Human ships, while trying to approach the flagship, were continuously under heavy fire. Any human ship had difficulty even damaging the shields of this colossal war machine. Alden decided to change the strategy. Spread out the forces, he ordered. We need to distract them. We'll slow them down until we find their weak points. The Kivtar ships were struggling to keep up with the quick maneuvers and attacks of the human fleet. Humans might not have technological superiority, but there was something the Kivtar didn't know. For some time, the best human strategists and scientists had been working tirelessly to find a way to disable the Kivtar's immortality system. They had discovered that there was an energy source that powered this biotechnological system. However, its location and how it functioned remained unknown. Commander Alden focused on the Kivtar's overconfidence and slow tactics, looking for an opportunity. The immortals belittled the impatience of short-lived humans, believing their hasty moves would fail in time. This arrogance was a significant advantage for Alden. Alden and his team initiated an extensive reconnaissance mission. They had learned that this energy source was hidden within the core of the Kivtar ships and could only be accessed through high-level security protocols. Yet, even this information gave humanity great hope. If they could disable this system, they could end the Kivtar's immortality and leave them vulnerable. Humanity made the decision to carry out an infiltration mission on the Kivtar flagship. This operation would target the core foundation of the immortal race and end the centuries-old immortality of the Kivtar. Alden, along with a special assault team, managed to secretly infiltrate a Kivtar ship. Moving silently, the team glided through the vast corridors of the Kivtar vessel like shadows. The interior of the flagship was cold, sterile, and filled with advanced technology. With every step, Alden and his team witnessed the biotechnological marvels of the Kivtar. But this advanced technology was also slowing them down. Humans were quick and adaptable, whereas the Kivtar, trusting in their long lives, always moved cautiously and deliberately. Alden used this weakness to quickly gain an advantage on the battlefield. After a prolonged infiltration mission, Alden and his team reached the biotechnological energy reactor at the heart of the ship. This reactor was the main source powering the Kivtar's immortality system. The massive structure of the reactor was a perfect blend of organic and technological components. It was the very core of the power center that had sustained the Kivtar for millennia. "Here it is," Alden said, staring at the massive structure before him. The reactor glowed with a golden energy, sustaining the life force within. The engineers in the team quickly began analyzing it. Disabling this reactor would collapse the entire immortality system of the Kivtar. However, this system was protected by strong security measures. Turning to his team, Alden spoke in a serious tone. "This is either everything or nothing for us. If we fail, we'll die here. But if we succeed, not just we, but all of humanity will win." Just as he finished speaking, the Kivtar realized the attack. Conflicts broke out in the corridors leading to the reactor room. The Kivtar soldiers, with their advanced biotech armor and weapons, put up fierce resistance. But the humans, under Alden's leadership, were using fast and creative tactics to weaken the enemy. The Kivtar's combat techniques, honed over centuries, were struggling against the quick and flexible strategies of the humans. While Alden and his team pressed toward the reactor, they were also under heavy fire. Plasma rounds collided in the air, and both sides were suffering heavy losses. Yet, Alden was successfully guiding his team. The humans' limited lifespan made them bolder and more determined. "We need to finish this," Alden shouted, pushing the Kivtar soldiers back with a final assault. When they reached the reactor's control panel, the engineers quickly got to work. One of the engineers managed to crack the encryption systems of the Kivtar biotech. They discovered a critical connection point to disable the reactor's energy source. As Alden prepared to cut the connection with his plasma cutter, Xerith's voice suddenly echoed. "What you're doing will only bring about your own end," Xerith said, glaring coldly at Alden. The Kivtar leader was witnessing this critical moment from the main control room of the ship. "Do you really think you can destroy our immortality? We've transcended time." Alden ignored Xerith's gaze and placed the plasma cutter on the connection point. "Your mistake was thinking time was on your side," Alden said. "But the real issue is how you've lived. And you've lived for far too long without learning anything." The cutter activated, severing the energy link, and the golden light inside the reactor slowly began to fade. As the reactor powered down, the entire ship started to shake. The Kivtar immortality was now at an end. Their biotech system began to collapse, and the physical processes of the Kivtar soldiers rapidly aged and weakened. Xerith looked at Alden one last time, But this time, there was fear and desperation in his eyes. His body, too, was aging slowly, and his strength was fading. For centuries, the Kivtar race had ruled, confident in their immortality, but now they were slowly becoming mortal. Our mistake was living too long, Xerith said, his final breath escaping him. As Alden witnessed the last moments of the Kivtar leader, he turned to his team, feeling the cold taste of victory. Despite their limited lifespans, humans had once again achieved one of the greatest victories in the galaxy through their speed, creativity, and determination. The Kivtar's immortality system was gone, their arrogance shattered, and humanity had become one of the greatest powers with the potential to rule the galaxy. This victory was not just a triumph of a war, but also a proof that short, meaningful lives could overcome the arrogance of immortality. Immortality might not have been power for a being. True power lay in how one lived. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye. See you in the next story.